What's going on, folks? And we are back. We're still on with Sam from Alien Gear, right?
Alien Gear.
Alien Gear. So let's talk about that. Where did the concept of Alien Gear come from?
That I don't actually know. I came into the picture a bit after the name was picked.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. So now, what a lot of people don't know is you actually do some writing for the Daily Caller.
Yeah, and a few other sites as well.
Oh, really? Okay. So what are some of the issues that you've been writing about recently?
Well, largely issues related to concealed carry and self-defense. So what I generally like to do is pick up on things that not necessarily the most advanced concepts of self-defense theory and so on and so forth. I mean, I'm not exactly a statistician or anything like that. But I like to pick up on things that relate more to the everyday person. Your average Joe or Jane. When they if they're going to start carrying, what are the kind of things they need to know? What are things they might hear that are actually bogus? What are things they need to steer clear of? And what does the average person need to know in order to conceal carry lawfully and effectively? That's really my main focus, and almost all of my writing is really
that. Is there anything in particular that sticks out that comes to mind that you're kind of more or less passionate about with respect to that?
There are a few things. One is that step one is to obey the law. Make sure you're at least aware of the actual nuts and bolts of concealed carry laws. Like, for instance, the big one is a lot of people think that if somehow you get involved in a self-defense shooting, that everything's going to be great and you're going to get you're going to get keep the city. No, this is not the case.
Total opposite.
Yeah, exactly. If you ever have to, you had better be justified. I mean, granted, everybody likes to say it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Yeah. But what's better than that is to be judged by 12 and not sent to prison.
Yeah, no, I think one of the biggest conundrums that I've had as a concealed carrier, and one of the things that I've noticed is, and which is one of my biggest critique about the laws is, we have to, as concealed carriers, we have to think about so much in what is essentially going to be a very short amount of time that determines whether or not we may live or die. And so we have to factor in the laws. We have to people don't necessarily see it that way, but when I walk into a building with a group of friends, and then I see a 30-06 sign here in Texas that tells me I can't carry my gun into it. At that point, I have to literally make a decision. Do I keep the thing on me that could possibly save my life, or do I go and put it in a car and roll that dice? Some people may think, if you don't carry a firearm to you, it's like, come on, seriously, really? Like, that's like it's not a life or death decision. It may be,
It very well may be, but then again. And I've had people ask me that question, in my own life, like, do you need to carry a gun? And what I usually tell people is, well, do you need car insurance?
Yeah.
Or home insurance, or any other kind of insurance for that matter. And the answer is, 99.999% of the time, no, you don't. You're just paying a premium to some company and for something you're not even using. But just like with insurance, it's carrying a gun is. You want to have the thing in case you need it. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, granted, some people might point out, what are the odds that you're ever going to have to pull your gun, in self-defense, let alone actually have to shoot somebody? Actually, the odds are pretty low. For most people, the odds are pretty low. I mean, granted, there's an economy of scale, like, depending on where you live and, all sorts of other things. But the odds that you're ever going to have to use it are pretty low. But if I ever have to, well, I want to have one.
Yeah. It's weird. It's kind of like, I've told people before, they're like, well, there's like like one out of every person in this country, there's like a 1% chance that you'll ever need to use your gun, or even less than that. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't matter to me if it never happens, but that 1% chance means everything to the person that it does happen to. And, you know, and in that moment, and I'll tell people, it's not about the odds. It's about the importance. If that odd does, if I happen to fall on that odd number, you know, that's 100% of everything for me right then and there. And so it's me putting a gun on my waist is a drop in a bucket compared to what that gun could do for me if I find myself to be that 1%. Like, people think it's just such a big deal that I carry a firearm. And I'm like, well, first of all, if I didn't tell you, you would have never known I was carrying a firearm, or if I wasn't, you know, making videos that traveled all around the internet. But, you know, you wouldn't know otherwise. And other than that, I generally go about my day and don't even think about it. But for some reason, it's like when you tell people that you carry a gun on you, it's like they literally think that you walk around with a laser blaster the size of my entire body and dragging it with you everywhere you go. I put it on my hip, I go about my business, and I'm good. And then if I ever find myself in a situation, I'm glad I put that passive thing on my hip. And now it's in a position to help me do something about protecting my life, somebody I love, and even people who I may not even know. So it's interesting how you get two different perspectives from people who don't carry and people who do carry, and how they can kind of find themselves at odds.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now, with that being said, in terms of the issues that you write about, is there anything in your experience, is there a particular question or concern that a lot of people tend to have when it comes to the idea of concealed carry that you've run into quite often?
Oh, there are a few different ones. First is what I mentioned is like, should I actually, do I actually need to, or should I carry? And like I said, usually the way I present it to anybody who's legitimately on the fence is exactly like I said. It's a form of insurance. Yeah. If you ever need one, it's going to be very, very detrimental to you to not have one.
Yeah.
You might not come out of it alive. That's one. Some of the other things are, for one, what situations can I shoot in? Because, as you know, legally, there are only certain conditions in which you can shoot. So thing is, when you shoot a person, when you shoot a gun, it's an act of deadly force. Okay. And under the law, using deadly force, shooting a person is a crime, period. But in certain situations, it's justified. So it's not like you get a pass. It's more like, you're not supposed to do this, but if you have to under these circumstances, we'll let you off. It's more like that. That's another one. A big one is like the circumstances in which you can shoot people under. Yeah. So there has to be an imminent threat to your life. You can't just blast somebody because they're trespassing. There are plenty of people that are sitting. There are people sitting in prison right now because they got they're on my property and shot somebody, and then it turns out they didn't really pose you a threat, did they? So they were running the other way.
I mean, it's an interesting thing because there are some justified actions in terms of me going to deadly force that I necessarily wouldn't take, that I'd be completely justified in doing just based under the law. And there's some situations I know for certain. Yeah, I know legally I could do this, but I probably most likely won't. And you have to always ask yourself, is this something I can live with?
Yeah.
As a result of that. And then there's some people who are just like, yep, sure can. I'm like, I guess it's the law. I don't necessarily agree with you, but it is. If it's legal under the law, it's legal under the law in that sense.
Legally permissible and morally permissible are two different things.
Two totally different concepts. Yeah.
Yeah, two completely different things.
Which, ironically enough, though, the law tends to pride itself on following a kind of moral guideline and code, so to speak. But then you do find those times where you kind of fork off into two different directions. Yeah, it's legal, but is it morally right?
Yeah, that's definitely true, and that is and that's always an interesting thing. Is like that some people conflate legality with morality. They're not always the same thing. Sometimes they intersect, and then sometimes they're completely completely on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Sam. Definitely enjoyed being able to pick your brain. Definitely enjoyed the demonstration and seeing what you guys have coming up. I'm actually excited to see it hit the market and see how things go.
Oh, we all are. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to be one of the first people in line, I'll tell you.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Anytime, man. We've got another quick break, and after that, we're going to be talking about another state that could get constitutional carry.